Let's cut straight to the chase. They weren't there for you. They didn't arrive to rescue you, nor did they intend to stay. Yet, they left their mark on every facet of your consciousness as if they owned it. Why does fate drop you into the arms of someone with whom you can never be? Why this deep, impossible, undeniable bond that feels as tangible as it does excruciating? That person you can't erase from your memory, yet can't possess? Is it a curse, a lesson, or merely a stark reflection of what you still need to learn about yourself? There's a certain cruelty in these impossible connections, not merely because they are painful, but because they shine a light on aspects of yourself you'd prefer remained hidden. They bring you to life, only to remind you immediately that you cannot have what you most want. This paradox, this unfulfilled longing, is one of the universe's most intricate tools for pushing your boundaries. Carl Jung understood this. He realized it was never about the other person. Their face, their voice, their touch, they are merely symbols, projections, manifestations of something deeper within you. But let's delve deeper. Why that specific person? Why that particular encounter? Why did time seem to stand still when your eyes met? Because that connection serves a purpose. It's not about romance, ideals, or cinematic moments. It is surgical. It arrives to cut through, to reveal, to expose things you'd rather not see. It resembles love, but its true intention is to bring you back to your core. Often, what you desire most is what takes you farthest from your true self. Jung spoke about the anima and animus, the internal archetypes we project onto others. You didn't fall for that person per se. You fell for what they represent, for what they awaken within you. And the universe, life, or the collective unconscious, whatever you choose to call it, is brutally effective in revealing your deepest wounds. So, it sends you someone unattainable. If they were within reach, you wouldn't search within. Have you ever been irresistibly drawn to someone who doesn't reciprocate your feelings? Someone involved with another, someone distant, or someone incapable of, unaware of how to, or unwilling to be with you? Yet, you feel something shatter inside when they enter your life. That pain isn't about loss. It's about what they symbolize. It's grieving for a part of you that you didn't realize was dormant. And here's the tough reality. It's not love. It's projection. It's your soul crying out for attention. When you encounter someone you can't have, the universe isn't punishing you. It's challenging you. It's forcing you to confront aspects you've consistently overlooked. Because that person triggers something primal within you, something rooted in wounds that didn't originate with you. Perhaps these are wounds from your childhood, from unmet needs, from love you yearned for, but that never materialized. Now, that person emerges, promising to complete you, to heal you, to save you, but they won't. Because that's not their role. Their sole purpose is to reveal the void. And that revelation is painful yet necessary. Because the real work begins when they depart, leaving you with the echoes, with the emptiness. And you are left to pick up the pieces, to realize it was never about them. It was about you, your shadows, your needs, and what you haven't yet addressed within yourself. People often believe a soulmate is someone who brings peace. This is a misconception. A soulmate brings chaos, a storm, profound activation. They arrive to stir your deepest recesses, to lay you bare, to destabilize your certainties. Without this upheaval, you would remain in slumber, continuing to believe in an illusion of self, shaped by others' expectations. So, when fate throws you against someone unattainable, it's not cruelty, it's precision. Observe your reactions, the desperation, the dependency. Is it truly love? Or is it attachment? Is it a plea for help disguised as a connection? Jung understood this, explaining clearly that what is not made conscious manifests as fate. And you might label it coincidence, call it love, but it's a projection, a snare set by your unconscious. On that emotional roller coaster, your nervous system reacts as though you are under threat. Because, in a sense, you are in danger of confronting your true self. Because what you seek externally is precisely what you've denied internally. Look critically at this unattainable person. What do they symbolize? Safety? Passion? Courage? A different life? Everything you project outwardly reflects what you haven't developed internally. If they symbolize tranquility, perhaps your inner world is in turmoil. If they embody direction, perhaps you've been lost for years. That's why it's so painful. Not because of what you lose, but because, in losing them, you realize what you lack within. It's harsh, but it's the truth. Then comes the ultimate trap. You cling to what highlights your emptiness. You obsess over the narrative, the what-ifs, the unrealized potential. But here's the reality. It wasn't a mistake. It was a message, not to return to that person, but to come back to yourself. The universe doesn't make idle moves. It sends you a soul you can't have, not to punish you, but so you stop looking outward. So you can rebuild yourself without crutches, breaking the cycle. Because until you break it, you will continue to attract the same scenarios, just with different faces. And here Jung introduces a concept both unsettling and enlightening. The archetype of the shadow. What you fail to integrate, you project. What you reject in yourself, you see in others. And that unattainable person might embody precisely what you most reject or envy. Maybe their freedom, their power, their clarity, or their darkness, their aloofness, their distance. The more you deny these traits in yourself, the more you are drawn to them. Not because it's love, but because it's a reflection. Do you see what's happening? You're not in love. You're mesmerized by your own shadow. That's why you can't let go. Because you're not battling for a person. You're battling against yourself, against your denials, against your pain, against what has always existed within you. And just when you think you've grasped it all, the greatest fear emerges. Not the fear of losing the other, but the fear of being left alone with yourself. Because once the object of your obsession vanishes, you have no one else to blame. No drama, no narrative. You are left only with your reflection. And therein lies the real struggle. Impossible love is not a romantic tragedy. It's a psychological alert, an urgent signal that something within needs to be acknowledged, healed, comprehended. And the irony is, you can only do this in their absence, in the silence left by what couldn't be. Because it's in that quiet that you finally hear yourself. And here comes the most revealing insight. Often, the unattainable person is merely the precursor to true love, the love you owe yourself. And I'm not referring to cliched phrases or superficial self-love slogans. I'm talking about genuine love, seeing yourself fully, supporting yourself when no one else will, halting the external search for salvation. Because when you truly choose yourself, the pattern shatters. And then, perhaps someone might appear, not to complete you, not to rescue you, but to accompany you. But for that to happen, you first must release the mirage. And that's incredibly difficult. Because attachment to suffering is addictive. Because your brain is programmed to repeat what's familiar. Because your nervous system mistakes anxiety for love. But if you can let go, if you stop idealizing, if you accept that the impossibility was part of the plan, then something different occurs. Something profound. Something freeing. You begin to recall who you were before you were broken. And even more crucially, you start to forge who you want to be moving forward. That's when impossible love ceases to be a wound and transforms into a doorway. And you decide whether to cross it or continue knocking from the outside. And just when you think there's nothing left to understand, when you believe the pain has subsided because the absence no longer echoes as before, that's precisely when the universe speaks again. But this time, it does so silently, without faces, without coincidences, without names. It speaks through you, in that odd calm you experience when you no longer need, in that peace that doesn't stem from possessing someone, but from not desperately needing to possess them, in that raw, brutally honest moment when you no longer seek a we to avoid confronting your I. Because here's the ultimate truth, one not told in songs or films. The person you can't have is the key, not the destination. They are the ones who pull you from your unconsciousness, who confront you with your void, who compel you to descend to your most uncomfortable place, your true core. They didn't come to stay. They came to point, to serve as a map, to open a breach for you to traverse your shadow. It wasn't love. It was a mirror. And mirrors aren't embraced. They are interpreted. Perhaps you didn't truly desire that person. Maybe you sought someone to fill the void, someone to validate your wounds, someone to affirm your worth. But that validation doesn't come from the external. And the more you seek it in others, the starker the reflection becomes. Because the universe doesn't offer consolation. It provides mirrors. And now you're facing one. Do you know what happens when you can't have someone, but also can't forget them? You enter a loop, a grieving without death, a waiting without promise. And that's where the real destruction begins. Because you don't just lose the other, you lose yourself. And therein lies the trap.